All right, guys. Hey, welcome. Well, actually, thank you for having me. So, Toby invited me along tonight. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know what I'm going to do. So, if anyone's got any questions or you'd like to do a particular type of meditation or anything like that, please feel free to ask or to talk. Hey.
Do you teach or do you practice consciously switching between feeling and thinking? That means if you have a thought, or if you have a sensation, if you have a thought, or if something is going on, that you consciously switch only focusing on the feeling instead of the thought. Like being conscious to switch consciously.
Yeah.
Now thinking, okay, now I look what feeling is behind thinking, only feeling.
Yeah, okay, so the way I do it is I try and focus on tactile sensations. Yeah. So if I'm focusing on something, right, like a feeling, yeah, I'll be focusing on a tactile sensation rather than like an emotion. So is that what you meant? Like a feeling rather than an emotion? Yeah? Yeah, okay. With thoughts come up, but I try not to get stuck on them. Yeah, so thoughts will come up, thoughts will arise, yeah, but if I have to think, I'll think, but I try not to think unconsciously, if that makes sense. Yeah. So for instance, I think one of the best things about meditation is the mind calms down and you can see what comes up. Yeah. So whether it's a thought, you can see a thought coming. Whether it's a feeling, you can see a feeling coming or an emotion coming. And you have a choice to go with it or to penetrate it and see the truth of it, yeah? And I mean, you're seeing the truth of it, even if you're going with it. It just becomes part of your process, yeah? But initially, you start to see them arise, and then you have a choice. So that's basically, that is my awareness, my state of awareness through the day, you know? So I don't really switch between different viewpoints or anything like that. It's just, it's a constant state of awareness that I'm trying to maintain, and then whatever comes up within that state of awareness, I'm trying to penetrate. That's the answer. Yeah. And so everything that we do, whether it's the Tai Chi stuff or the meditation stuff or just, you know, day-to-day practice, it's all related to that. It's all related to penetrating the truth of the object that comes up, yeah, and also the thing that's holding the object as well, yeah. But to do that, and this is the trick, to do that you have to make it habitual, and you can't get lost in the mental sphere, if that makes sense. So you can't be intellectualizing this stuff. It doesn't work, right? So if you're thinking about stuff and trying to like label things in that manner, it doesn't really work, in my experience, yeah. I've had the greatest success myself by practicing with the body first, yeah. So feeling tension come up, feeling contraction come up. So feeling, yeah, tactile sensation, a feeling comes up. And how I relate to that, how I react to that. So I look at it, I soften, I penetrate, and I see the truth of the object and then the truth of my reaction to it, if that makes sense. Yeah? And so by working with the body, it makes it more tangible, if that makes sense. Because the mind is, like the mental stuff happens too quick. It happens way too quick. Hi, come on in. Hey. Yeah, so the mental stuff happens too quick. To start practicing with the mental stuff, it's not I suppose it could be dangerous, but it's just really hard. It's super hard because you can't get a grasp on it. Before you know it, you're thinking about something else, or you've fabricated something else, and you can make your fabrications really sublime, like very etheric or heavenly or whatever, but actually you're just holding on to thoughts still. Yeah. But when you work with the body, it trains you to let go of thoughts and to penetrate those things I was talking about in a very conscious, deliberate manner. Yeah. And then, of course, with everything that you start learning, it's kind of a little bit awkward in the beginning, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. Yeah, if that makes sense. Of course. It's another skill. It's another skill. So yeah, it's really about making it a habit and making it enjoyable. That's the main thing. And so if you can make it enjoyable, then you'll be drawn to it. And then you won't need to distinguish between feelings and mental objects and labeling and all this sort of stuff, because that habit just kicks in immediately. So when something comes up on your radar, in your mind, your mental and emotional sphere, you just see, you penetrate. So that's what I do. Yeah. And sometimes it's really successful, sometimes not so much. So, most of the time it's successful.
Can you describe Panna a little bit more, that wisdom? Well, I see it a little bit as I call it creative mode, like switching on the creative mode, like means penetrating from different points of views. Okay. Creative mode. Yeah, I've never looked at it that way, but that's interesting. So I suppose panya, or wisdom, is kind of what I was talking about just before. It's realizing what things are. This is panya. Why you do things, why you're motivated to do things, your reaction to things. And when I say things, I'm talking about thoughts, I'm talking about your ideals, your ideas. I'm talking about emotional states and even physical reactions as well, right? So panya is understanding why you're holding on to these things. Yep. What these things are, the essence of these things. And then as your panya or your wisdom deepens, you start to realize that the essence of all these things is the same. It's the same. It's the same. Mankan. It's the same. It's same as... So fear, for instance, say fear comes up in the mind. When you look at it, essentially it's the same as sadness, or it's the same as doubt, or any negative emotion. Yeah, it's just this contraction that comes in, right? And it becomes your habit. So we sort of go to these emotional states or these mental states habitually because we're used to it. It's like our default. Yeah? And so when you start to penetrate, you start to realize that it's all just the same. It's all the same. Good feelings and bad feelings. Yeah. Feelings in the body, tactile sensations, sight, sounds, thoughts, whatever you penetrate, whatever you look at, you find that it's just the same.
And of course, then once you start to penetrate that, it keeps on opening up. And I don't know how far it keeps on opening, I have no idea, but it just keeps on. Again, because it's a skill, you get better at it. And of course, the better you get at it, it just sort of opens up, of course, like anything, So, yeah, but a creative mode, that's cool, interesting, nice, yeah.
You say penetrate a lot. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by penetrate?
Yeah, so penetrate is the essence of the path. To penetrate ignorance. So it's like such a strong word, right? But we're ignorant to what makes us feel bad. That's basically it in a nutshell. And so there are these strong terms like ignorance and suffering and all that sort of stuff. And you sort of think, well, I'm not ignorant or I don't suffer or whatever. But, they're words that they're pointing us in a direction, So have a look here, like, why do you feel bad, for instance? And so we have to start looking at that process itself. And then so we get back to training to look, training to penetrate. Because if you start looking at big problems, like big mental problems initially, like straight up, it's overwhelming. Certainly, like a lot of people, they'll go for a retreat for 10 days or 2 weeks or a month or whatever, and they've not really meditated before, and they're confronted. They're confronted with their demons, and it's a scary thing. And if you're not ready for it, you'll get hit. The demons will come back and hit you. So by training, we can start this process of penetration, and then we can start then to work toward looking at our demons with more power in the future, once we get stronger. And I think that's the key. That's definitely the key to it. So, we train really, really hard. We'll spend, we train all day. Like right now I'm training, yeah? So there's that type of training, but then there's the formal training. And so we put ourselves through some hard work. And Toby can attest to that level of hard work. So we, just like this guy here, where is he? This fellow up here, Lompo Jamnian. 78 kilograms of stuff all over one shoulder, just draped over one shoulder. Yeah, he had that there for 30 or 40 years, something like this, right? And that was his training, one of his training methods. So when he discovered this idea of penetration, because that's what he does, he penetrates, yeah? So that's Buddha, or Buddho. That's his main emphasis is Buddho, right? Which is panya. Yeah, it's part of panya. Part of penetration. Well, penetration is part of Buddho, I should say. And so, he tied all this stuff over one shoulder and kept it there for pretty much 40 years. Would take it off for 1 hour a night to sleep or shower or whatever. And so he used that. He put himself under extreme stress and was able to see what happens, to penetrate the reality of his experience. And that's basically it. That's what I mean by penetration. It's
looking into.
Looking into. And so the trick with the looking into is it has to be has to be coming from the right place. So if you look too hard with too much intent, you won't find the answer, right? So for instance, if I'm sitting there and I'm trying to meditate and I have this real hard intention behind that, and I want to find the answer and I'm going to find it tonight, it won't happen, right? It's almost like, it's like a relationship in a way. Like if you try too hard to please somebody, or if you try too hard to do anything, it doesn't work. There's an element of play that you have to have in that relationship, softness, and then the relationship deepens, coming from that. But if you try and push it too much, you scare the person away, so it has to be natural. So when you're looking at yourself, and that's why we do this physical training, because, and it might just be the way you stretch, for instance, right? So, you might be doing yoga or something like that, yeah. And, so many yoga classes you go to, you'll see, and you'll hear this call for strong, like push, strong core, and there's this real impetus on this inner strength, and push and all this sort of stuff, and that's fine. But as you're doing, when I do my yoga or stretching, as I'm stretching, I am allowing my awareness to fill up this whole space here. And so now begins the process of panya. This is the panya process, so the penetration process, right? So as I'm feeling the discomfort, I'm watching how I watch, if that makes sense. So if I watch with an intensity, like it's too strong, I'm not going to get the desired result. So I need to be softening my heart, softening my eyes even, and my internal vision. And as I do that, I'm able to see what's happening. And generally it's this. So whenever you feel any discomfort, you find this, right? And so then I'm basically looking at all of these fists in this part of my body. So I'm feeling this discomfort here. It's basically this, right? And as I just stay there, right? I stay with it and I begin to soften. I soften. And as I soften, it's almost, the feeling is very much like a hug. So as I hug myself, right? These are just words, but they're pointing in a direction, right? So if I look at this with this softness of a cuddle or a hug or, love, right? What I'm able to do, I'm able to allow this to happen. Just a little bit, right? I'm able to see and penetrate the spaciousness within that discomfort, if that makes sense. Yeah. And once you find space, then it all starts to unravel. But until you find spaciousness, when you find spaciousness, when you soften and you find that spaciousness, this is part of the truth, right? And when the mind sees that, it releases on its own. So you don't have to force it to release. It's the mind's, like when the mind knows something. Okay, so if a person has an amount of wisdom, in these past few years I've seen some interesting displays of the opposite of panya, right? Of like supreme ignorance. It's coming from people believing in politicians and all this sort of stuff. It's been a crazy, crazy time. And so their basic level of panya has not been developed, because what they're seeing someone lie to them, and then they believe it. Yeah. And people say, oh, politicians don't lie. It's like, what world do you live in? Of course politicians lie. Of course they do. They always have. They always will. Right? So it doesn't matter what the scenario is, politicians generally, they have a track record. Let's just say they have a track record. And so we need to start developing our panya in day-to-day life. Yeah? So we need to see, okay, well, this person's lying to me. Right? How do you know if someone's lying to you? Generally speaking, they're doing this. You can feel it. If someone's bullshitting you, you can feel it. Right? You can feel there's a tension involved within them. So there's that. We have to develop this natural panya. So that when we can start to see the bullshit, our lies that we lie to ourselves, because we lie to ourselves all the time, we have to be able to say, okay, no, I don't believe that. That's not reality. So when we're doing the work ourselves, we're sitting there, we need to have developed this general sense of panya, this general sense of wisdom, so that we can look at ourselves with sincerity and honesty and say, yeah, that's bullshit. But of course, people don't like hearing that this is true. Of course it's true. When you take a step back, of course, you go, yeah, of course. That makes perfect sense. But we have TVs and we have iPhones, and we're bombarded with the opposite of panya all the time. So we need to be extremely wary, because without panya, it's dark. It's dark. And we get back to that strong word, that ignorance word. Yeah? And so what are we ignorant to? We're ignorant to the reason that we feel bad. That's it. That's what we're ignorant to. Yeah. Cool? Nice. All right, anyone else? Any thoughts? Yeah.
Did you have any aha moments in your practice, and what is an example of one that might
Every
help
day,
us?
all the time. Yeah, it's. I think if you're practicing well, it should be a continuous aha moment. Yeah, it's just this. I don't think I've ever hit a plateau with my training. It just keeps on unraveling. And to me, that's the most interesting thing about it, because 10 years ago, I thought, that's it, I've done it, or whatever, But it just keeps on unraveling. It keeps on unraveling. It's really amazing. And so the aha moments, I think the thing to be wary of with the aha moments is to not get caught on them and just continue the practice. That's the main thing. Yeah. So for instance, you have an aha moment, and let's say you're doing a particular type of meditation, and then that's it. You have that aha moment and you close off everything else for the rest of your life or whatever, and you just stick to that, which can be potentially dangerous for your practice. So you need to be open, definitely need to be open, and keep on training. But yeah, every day. I'm lucky I have a very good teacher. So he kicks my ass regularly. It's necessary. You need it. Because otherwise, you have these aha moments and you think, okay, that's it. And then you need someone to say, yeah, have you looked at it from this angle? Oh, right, okay, cool. So yeah, you need a teacher, definitely. Right. This guy.
It's right, even though I keep reminding me this, as soon as you say, I'm like, okay, yeah, I get lost in it. It's like, it brings this idea that I know what it is, and then it's like all of a sudden, bam, I've shut myself off completely. And then when I think I've known it, it's like everything kind of drifts off.
Yeah. But I think the best way to look at the practice is as a lifelong journey. Yeah. If you look at it in a short-term nature, I think you can get kind of frustrated and disillusioned with it, you know. So if you've got a teacher and you have this sort of long-term view and you stick to the practice, you stick to your practice, whatever that is, then I think that's the right method. Of course, that's the right method, you know. Yeah. But when you have these aha moments, I mean, the aha moments should be happening every day. Yeah. So as something comes up, you penetrate it, aha, right? And it's paying it the credit that it's due. This is, I think, the most important part. So as you release, you have to, as you penetrate, you have to acknowledge it. Not so much with words or, you know, talking about it internally or anything like that. I don't mean like that. I mean, as you find release, you need to enjoy it. Yeah, it's the most important thing. Many years ago, I was sitting in Chiang Mai and I was about to do my Tai Chi training. And the Tai Chi training we do is really, really hard. It's very, very difficult. And you can kind of get lost in the hardship of it. Yeah, so it's almost like this idea of like a grind. You know, you just grind and you're working really hard and you know, you can get caught on that element. And you realize after 6 months or 12 months or whatever that you haven't been releasing properly because of that. So you just sort of, you're too much, that focus that I was talking about before, it's the wrong focus, wrong effort, right? And so, you know, you're trying really, really hard and you're grinding and you're doing the work because you have to do the work and you have to do this for 6 hours every day. And then, you know, then I got a message from my teacher. It was just a one-word message. He said, "Oh, so what are you doing?" I said, "I'm about to train." He was in Phuket, I was in Chiang Mai. And he just said, "Enjoy." Oh my God, that's right. It just hit me, you know, it was aha moment. You know, aha moment number 10,022, you know. But I was able to let that aha moment sink in and become a continuous aha moment from that moment on. You know?
Yeah, I can see that. Although, yeah, I think I am getting lots of aha moments, but it's like almost like it's like this idea of wanting this big aha. I'm ignoring the small ahas, but they're all the same. It's just like it's delusion that I'm seeking too much.
Yeah. So yeah, the little aha moments are where it's at.
Yeah,
definitely.
There's just so many.
Yeah, and I mean, essentially, that's the goal. The goal is a continuous stream of aha moments. That's the goal. Right? So you're continuously penetrating. Yeah. And so instead of being like a very sporadic sort of a mindfulness or penetration, it's more like a submachine gun or something like this, you know, like a laser beam actually, you know. It's just a continuous beam of penetration. So basically everything that comes up in your mind is hit by that beam. Everything that comes up in your awareness is hit by your awareness, that beam. And you've trained your awareness to do one thing only. And this is another very important point. You have to be looking in the right direction. If you're not looking in the right direction and you've got multiple goals, multiple destinations or whatever, you know, You might want to have psychic abilities, or you might want to look at past lives, or you know, like supernatural abilities perhaps, or whatever it is, yeah. But you also want to find release. You kind of have to drop those other things and just really make everything about release. And I think if you can do that, if you can do that, there's no thinking about it. If you can do that, you'll have success. Yeah. So if you have practices that are at odds with that, then I would say drop those things. The cool thing about release is you can put it into everything. So, that's the coolest thing. You can be doing anything and releasing, penetrating and releasing as you're doing anything. Maybe. Except for maybe shooting somebody or murdering or something like that, perhaps. I don't know, maybe. I haven't done it, so I've yet to experience that. Yeah. So I think we might do a meditation on this idea of many little moments of penetration. Okay. So, get yourself comfortable. So when I say get yourself comfortable, just, cross your legs. Doesn't matter how you cross them. Just whatever feels okay, that's fine. And try to suspend your head like this. Yeah, you can lean on a wall maybe. I'd rather you not though. Again, you don't want to make yourself too comfortable, right? Because as things come up, you want to be addressing them as they come up. So if, for instance, if you try and meditate when you lie down, unless you're really good at meditation already, you're going to fail, right? Because you're just going to drift away. It's too pleasant, right? So you need to make it a little bit unpleasant so that things can come up and arise so you can address them. Yep. So you don't have to go looking, they'll just come up naturally. So within this shape, I just want you to make yourself comfortable. So suspend your head. Allow your breathing to become comfortable. So I like to, especially if you're not used to breathing, if you're not in the habit of breathing down here, say if you're breathing up here too much. When you breathe up here a lot, it's sending mixed signals to your physiology, yeah? If you think about, and they've done studies on it, of course they've done studies on everything, but I read this one study, and they were saying something about when you breathe into your chest, it's telling your body that it basically releases stress hormones. Yeah. So if you can breathe down here, it's going to be much better. You're going to have far less cortisol coursing through your body. And cortisol is bad. So, you can rest your hands on your tummy. And all I want you to do is soften your eyes and allow your awareness to be in your hands. So feel your hands. So put your hands on your belly, on your tummy. And so what we're going to do is just allow our eyes to relax, so softening your eyes. Allow your breath to soften. And so we're making this present state more comfortable. And in doing so, we're training our panya, we're training our wisdom, right now even. So we're beginning to understand that by holding tension in our eyes, by doing that, it's uncomfortable. And so we begin to realize, oh, if I soften my eyes, that feels better. Okay, nice. What about if I spread my awareness around my face? So I get my awareness in my cheeks and in my mouth, my nose. And so as I breathe, I soften my jaw, I soften the skin on my face. We can take it a step further. We can think to ourselves, well, if I breathe in with a soft intent, how does that feel? As I exhale with this soft intent, what effect does that have? And the result should be instantaneous. You don't need to think about it. Just pay attention. And so these are the little aha moments. So we can have a continuous aha moment all the way through the in-breath as you breathe in from the very beginning, making it more comfortable. And then as you exhale, making that more comfortable too. In regards to your face, so you're making your face a more pleasant place to be. And you can start to spread that awareness across the top of the head. Make your skull more comfortable. The skin on your scalp more comfortable. Now already you should be finding that through this process of finding comfort, it also becomes more spacious. There's a sense of freedom that comes with this process. And so your face might have felt very hard and tense before. Your eyes might have had a tension in them. But the more you do this, you'll find that that hardness starts to dissipate. It becomes more spacious. Aha moment. And then we can continue this little journey down the neck. As you breathe in, just get a sense of your neck. Get a sense of softening your intention as you're aware of this area. And as you breathe out, just allowing the skin, the flesh of your neck to melt, to release. And so now this addresses that first topic that we spoke about, with feeling. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to rationalize it or do anything. All I want you to do is make your breath more beautiful. So as you breathe into your neck, the skin of your neck, all those little holes, those little pores in your neck, make this experience beautiful. As you breathe out, make it beautiful. Gradually allow your awareness to move down to the chest. So feeling the skin as you breathe in. It's like you're breathing directly into the flesh on the chest. Finding this comfort as you breathe in. As you breathe out, finding comfort with the out-breath. Comfort on the in-breath, comfort on the out-breath. Allow your rib cage to be more comfortable as you breathe. So how are you breathing? Are you breathing with a hard intention? Soften that intention. And just by doing this, you should find that your breathing starts to slow down and become more regular. And then finally, allow your awareness to fill up your tummy, your belly. So as you breathe, I want you to feel your tummy move under your hands. So your tummy should be going out as you breathe in. So you're filling up this space with the breath. And then as you breathe out, just relax, release this area. Again, we're just making the process as lovely, as beautiful as we can. So if you don't have your hands on your tummy, put them on your tummy. And as you feel the touch of your hands on your belly, I want you to soften your hands and soften your tummy. Now, if you feel any tension in there, don't try to get rid of the tension. If you try and destroy the tension with tension, it won't work. So as you breathe in, soften, soften. Soften your internal eyes, your internal vision as you look at your tummy, as you feel your tummy. And so the trick is to stay with it. How do you stay with it? You make it beautiful. How do you make it beautiful? Soften. So I want you to stay with this breathing. I want you to be with the process from the very beginning of the in-breath. As you breathe in, I want you to experience this beautiful sensation all the way in. And when I say all the way in, I want you to stay on the surface of your tummy. So don't actually go into the body. I just want you to stay on the surface. As you breathe into the tummy, I want you to feel the breath from the beginning all the way to the end. And then as you begin to breathe out, I want you to be with that whole process all the way out. Now, a little trick is this. If it feels good, enjoy it. What will happen is that as you enjoy this process, it will take up more of your awareness. The process will become bigger, more apparent. Another little trick is, if you enjoy it, smile. Don't just smile for no reason though, because that's a sign of madness. I want you to smile because it feels good. Now, if it doesn't feel good, make it. Make it feel good, damn it. So you have this power, you have this control. Again, if you're looking at it with a hardness, it's not going to work. If you're listening to my voice with a hardness, soften. Soften your ears, soften your eyes. Okay, so as you begin to open your eyes, just maintain that sense of, well, this process that you're working on. Process of making your experience more comfortable. Now, having a comfortable existence is not the goal, of course, because sometimes things are very uncomfortable. But what we're training ourselves to do here is training ourselves to be able to find comfort within discomfort. Yeah. So it's not as though we have to run away to find a comfortable place continuously or anything like that. It's just this process of finding comfort within any situation, basically. Yeah. And of course, what we are doing is we're looking in this direction of spaciousness, this emptiness. Yeah. And so then this direction, if we keep looking in this direction, it leads us, this is the Vipassana path. Yeah? So we actually start to see the nature of our own mind, and that's why it feels comfortable. So when you find spaciousness, your mind, did anyone experience their mind being more open just then? Yep. So part of that is you're getting a sense of your own mind, right? So you're actually seeing the essence of your own mind. By looking at this spaciousness in the body, we're looking in the right direction. Yeah? And then gradually, as your skill in this activity builds, then you can start to look at the looker and look at the essence of you. Yeah. So this is the direction that we're looking. So keep it all in the same on the same direction, in the same path. And then, it's like that analogy, the analogy of the bird in the cage, like the bird in the cage needs to be near the door. If it wants to get out, it needs to be near the door. Yeah. If the bird is down the bottom of the cage, away from the door, or at the top of the cage, and then someone opens the door to put the food in, it's missed its opportunity, right? So it's kind of like that. If you're looking in the wrong direction, it's, you might have missed an opportunity. How'd you go? Okay? Yeah? Nice. It's simple. It's so simple. But as far as I can tell, it's simple is better. Simple is good. Any thoughts? Questions?
How do you know that you're looking at the wrong direction?
Yeah, so how do you know you're looking in the wrong direction? If you feel like you're doing this all the time, yeah, or a good portion of the time, you feel like everything is closing and you can't find any release from that, then you're looking in the wrong direction. Yeah. The cool thing about the practice is, some very famous person said, the path is beautiful in the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, right? And so, even that little meditation that we did just then, it should have pointed you in the right direction. Like, oh wow, okay, I can find release quite readily, very quickly, just by looking at myself, right? And so, if you've been practicing for a long time and you feel like this on the inside, you're going to feel like this occasionally. Even if you are facing the right direction, you're going to feel like this occasionally, yeah? But of course, the better you get at it, and if your teacher's around or, whatever, you start to catch yourself quicker, right? And so you might be like this for 2 days. But initially, you're like this all the time, right? And you blame everyone for your problems, right? And you look for release in all sorts of ways. You know, you go shopping, you do drugs, you know, eat food or whatever it is, right? And so you're looking for release that way, right? Or, you know, it could be some sort of meditation. So you might visualize something and, you know, you might get some release while you're visualizing that thing and it might feel really good. But it's this skill of, this penetration skill and seeing the truth. That's what's the most beneficial thing. So if your meditation is sort of visualizing something or holding on to something, then it's the opposite of release, right? And so the problem is that we hold on to things too much all the time. We hold on to everything, right? That's our habit. And so we need to find the opposite. Doesn't mean you have to let everything go, but you need to understand the mechanism of what makes you feel like shit. That's basically it. That's all it is, you know. Yeah. And so that's why, you know, being around people like Toby, it's good. It's good because they train hard, you know, like, and you can see it, you know, you spend some time with Toby and you can feel that he's doing the work, you know. And that's another thing too. So if you hang around people that are working, you get a sense. You get a sense of their contentment. Yeah. You can feel it. You can feel it. You know, when people, if two friends have just had an argument and you walk into the room, you can feel it, you know. Yeah. And the opposite is true too. So, yeah. Anyone else? All good? Yeah.
Yes, for me it's about physical pain. Every day when I try to practice in 15 minutes, I can feel I let it go in my mind.
Yeah.
I progress every day, but on my body now, because of my foot, I after 15 minutes every time, because I put my phone to see.
Yeah.
After 15 minutes, I can't feel my feet.
Yeah.
It's like a stone, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not in my mind because when I do that, I can't move.
Yeah.
So I can see people doing it for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. And I say, I can't even 15 minutes.
Yeah. It's. I almost fell over today. Like I had to sit this morning for a couple of hours, and I got up to go to the loo, to the toilet, and I almost fell over. So it happens, you know.
I should try to fix the same position more, even if it's
Yeah. Make yourself comfortable in the way you're sitting. So, for instance, I will at home, when I'm sitting at home. In the old days, I was really hardcore, like really tough, and you know, I wouldn't even sit on this. Or timber, that's too soft. It needs to be hard, you know. And so, because you know, I don't know who have you got up here? Yeah, like guys like this, like Ajahn Mun, and these hardcore guys, you know, which is what drew me to the practice initially, to the Thai style anyway, because they were just so tough. Holy shit, you guys are awesome. So I tried to emulate that, you know. But these days, you should see me. I sit on a mountain of pillows, you know. So comfortable. Just because I'm getting older, I think. I'm getting older. I'm like 48 next month. And so, you know, I've got to look after these babies, these knees. And so I make my posture, my asana cushion, like really comfortable, yeah. And that might mean, say you've got a sore knee or something like that, that might mean always make sure your ass is up. Your ass has to be higher than your legs, right? But it could mean, you know, just sort of putting a pillow like that, just to support it. It could be that. Or for instance, if your feet are dying, Another little trick that I'll use is, that might be a little bit too much, but oops, that was your phone, Toby. I'm so sorry. Is it still recording? Yes. All right. So I might just put this. It's a little bit thick, but anyway, I might do this. Right? And it will take the stress off my feet. And see how they're kind of up in the air now? So that's happening a little bit, right? And yeah, that might help. You know? Yeah, but the other thing is just you have to endure. You do. But if you make it enjoyable, you'll be able to endure much longer. And so if you're just sitting there like 10 minutes is going to seem like an eternity. Yeah. But if you can be like, it's like, this is really make it beautiful. If you can make it beautiful, you'll stay there for a very long time. Yep. That's the trick. You have to make it beautiful. Yeah. Like I see so many people meditate, like, I'm not going to comment on this group, but I didn't see many smiles. So you were smiling. You have to. You can't be sitting there like this. It doesn't work. You can't be sitting there and trying to absorb into something with tension in your awareness, in your heart. Like if you're sitting there trying to absorb like this, it's never going to happen. Never. Because it's too uncomfortable. So if you think about, like we absorb into things all the time, right? So for instance, like you eat, I'm on a diet at the moment, so I'm not even going to talk about cake. But so let's say I eat cheese. I had some cheese today. It was fantastic. So I had some cheese, right? And so as you eat the cheese, you absorb into it. And so you just, if you judge the cheese too much and you compare it to the last piece of cheese that you ate, it ruins the experience, right? But if you just soften and you just enjoy the damn cheese, that experience fills up. In that moment, it fills up your world. Your whole world is cheese at that moment, right? And it's like a movie. Same thing happens with a movie, Like if it's an awesome movie, you'll sit there for 2 hours and not move. And just fixated to the screen, Or a good friend you haven't seen for a while. Just, 5 hours, poof, disappears. Like that, right? It's why wine works, right? That's why wine works. You sit at a table with a bunch of people you don't know very well, and you can see the tension, and everyone's looking to the waiter. The waiter's walking around, and you can see them, bring the wine, because it's uncomfortable. And then the wine's poured, and within 1 minute, everyone's like, and talking and chatting, and everyone's more comfortable. Right? So it doesn't mean you have to get drunk, but there has to be a sense of inebriation in your practice and clarity, not inebriation and dullness, like being drunk, but drunk with bliss. This guy. If you've ever met him, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. He radiates that, and you just, when you're with him, you just can't help it. Because that's what he's doing continuously. He's penetrating continuously. And that's his thing, it's metta. Sorry, Bhutto, metta. Bhutto on this side, metta on this side. Right? So that's his whole thing. So what is metta? What's metta? Does anyone know?
It totally explains.
Hey, you can't forget that. That's super important. But
I left the text out, so any names you pronounce, right?
yeah.
General love, accepting.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And then, of course, you can develop your metta to new levels. Yeah. So just by doing that meditation we did just now, that's essentially a metta meditation, right? Because you're starting to understand what's happening. Like, why are you tense? Why do you feel uncomfortable? Right? So there's a problem. Yeah. So there is suffering. Right. Four Noble Truths. Yep. Right. And so then as you look, you start to build this panya. Yeah. Holy shit. The reason I feel uncomfortable is because I'm doing this. That's why. I can't let go. So panya develops, right? And then through that panya, I tend to look at panya as compassion. Yeah, because it's understanding the cause of suffering for myself. Yep. So the only time I get upset is when I feel like this. When I find the opposite of that, when I'm releasing, I don't feel upset. Right? Every single time. Every time. And so, this is my laboratory, yeah? And so every single time I've done a test, the same result comes through, every single time. And then when I look at my friends, the same thing happens with them too. Holy shit, right? And so you start to realize, oh my God, everyone, this is the problem. There's no other problem greater than this. And so this is compassion. Right? Understanding why people suffer. And then so metta would be applying a cure to the problem. Right? And so that's what you did just then was metta. You were applying a cure to the problem. Yeah? So without having to intellectualize it or anything like that, or you didn't even have to read a text about it, you just saw this and you found the opposite and it was better. Yeah? And so this is looking in the right direction. Yeah? And so that's what this guy permeates. And that's why he had all the weight, that 40 kilograms, 78 kilograms off one shoulder, because he's a monk. So they wear the robe off one shoulder, so it's all coming off this one shoulder. 78 kilograms. What a beast. Holy shit. That's so hardcore. Wow. Man, I moved some chairs today. That was difficult. Difficult. Some chairs. They were like 10 kilograms. Oh, yeah. How many years did you do that for?
Like most of his life, right?
I think it was, from 35, and I think he did it for 30 years, and then he dropped it back when he hit 70?
At 70, dropped it back to about 20 kilos.
Was it 20, was it? No, 30. It was 30. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And so now he's got 30. He's 80, how old is he now? 80? 84. 84. Amazing.
Last time we saw him, he was already, he had some weight dropped, I think.
Oh, again? Right. Yeah. But yeah, this is the thing, right? So what happened with Lumpur is he came across this, what we've been talking about, on a very peripheral manner. We've been talking about this tonight, but because it's pointed in the same direction, you can go, if you keep looking in the same direction and you have guidance and persistence and your panya develops, that's the direction, right? That's the goal. Yeah. And so he found this solution to the problem when he was 35 or 36, something like that. Yeah. About that age, right? And he looked around and he basically grabbed everything because he was a monk, you know, so he only had statues and amulets and things, right? And so he just tied everything up and put it on his shoulder. So he had to deal with that, just to see if it was real. And it was. Yeah, and that's why he did it. So it wasn't out of some like masochistic tendency or something like this, or to prove that he was awesome, or nothing like that. It was a test. And so we have to test ourselves every single day. We have to. And that's why you have to train. If you're not training and you just sort of, each to their own, like that's one of my biggest lessons in life is trying not to be a preacher, like my grandfather and all that. A lot of preachers in my family, so try not to be a preacher and you should be doing this. But I was like that for a long time. So try not to do that, but trying to encourage people to train, because you have to train. If you don't train, you'll not understand properly. And then when shit hits the fan, and it always does, that's an Aussie term, I don't know if you understand that, but when things get really rough, because of your training, you're able to, when things get rough, they don't just hit you like this, right? When things get really rough, you see the fist coming from way over there, a long way away. And so as the fist is coming toward you, or the situation is coming closer, you're releasing the whole time that it's approaching. And so by the time it actually hits you, it's okay. It's much smaller and more manageable because of your training. Yeah, and this is why you should train. Yeah.
It's hard to accept, if you can say it this way, something like this. Once you meditate, you practice, then you understand that everything comes very easy. Starting arising like a question, clear vision, as you say, maybe we call clear vision, anything.
Yeah.
And then everything arises, then you feel that one-way meditation, it's all. Anything disappear, you just go back to meditation, and then you wish for yourself to have more meditation, practice more, and go like that. Yeah. And that's hearing these stories about monks that penetrate in that moment with stuff.
Yeah.
Brings me in another frequency, like another planet.
Yeah. Oh, it is another planet. It is another frequency.
Something that we can understand.
Yeah.
And then we remain in a certain level with our meditation. Now, if you tell me something, it's no problem. I'm going to meditate.
Yeah. But it's that string, that the sequence of aha moments that we're trying to build. Yeah. So instead of thinking of it like walking into another world, it's not like that. It's a process. Yeah, so it starts off by just having the meditation. Do the meditation in the morning. Yeah? Every morning meditate. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, right? And then what you'll find, if you keep on doing that, what you'll find is that skill that you acquired here then spreads into the day. Yeah? And you'll find that things that used to really upset you only upset you a little bit now. Yeah? So instead of killing someone, you just, it just gets better and better and better. Yeah. So I think that's the approach to take. Not to think of it as another world, even though the same thing can be said for an artist, for a businessman, like somebody who has excelled in their field, whatever it is, right? Like you walk into a room with a builder, a good builder, yeah? And what their eyes do as soon as they walk into the room, that they don't even know they're doing it. That's so natural for them. They're looking at the floor. They're looking at the work that's been done there. You know, and so that's all it is. It's just this skill that we build. You know, but you have to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, then you'll never build the skill. You know, the reason that the builder got so good at building, perhaps, is because of the Porsche that he now drives. Because he's such a good builder, he can afford a new car every 2 years and go on holiday. So he gets enjoyment from his craft that way. Yeah, but we get enjoyment from our craft now, and then maybe not. Maybe you forget about it for an hour, and then you catch yourself. Oh shit! Right. Oh yeah. Okay. Now, and then you forget about it for 3 days, and then you come back, and this is how it goes. You know. Yeah. You have to enjoy it.
When you mentioned that it should be on a daily basis, what else do you consider that it should be daily basis training or practice?
Well, it depends on your teacher. It depends on your teacher. You have to have a teacher. You have to. Yeah. Now, having a teacher could be, for instance, they could be dead. We've got YouTube now. We've got books. You know what I mean? So, for instance, you know, on a very, it's not ideal. Certainly not ideal, right? Very interesting thing happened with my teacher yesterday. Yeah, he said, what did he say? We're doing Tai Chi, right? And we're doing this very difficult practice, very hard, right? And he got me to do this thing. So with Tai Chi, basically what you're doing is you're looking internally, you know, at different parts of your body, hips, spine, shoulders, your alignment, your structure, and within that shape, release, you know, sequences of release and all this stuff, right? And quite similar to what we did just then, similar in some respects, yeah. And so he said something, and I misheard it. And it was basically, I can't remember, but I thought he said wrist, right? Like put your wrist in this part, right? Connect these two parts. He didn't say that at all, right? And so luckily I asked him again, I was like, wrist? He said, no, I didn't say that. And then he corrected me. So my point is, having a physical teacher to make those corrections is really, really good, yeah? Because you can misinterpret things. You can read a passage in a book and you think you understand it, but you've misinterpreted it, you know? And you need a teacher to say, no, that's not what I meant. Do this instead, you know? So whatever your teacher says, do it. That's what you should do. If you don't have a teacher, get a teacher. Yeah. So for me, I met Adam 17, 18, almost 18 years ago this year. And I didn't know him. He wasn't famous then. He was just some guy in the park. He had 2 students, right? And I met him and he blew me away. I was like, holy shit. And I'd heard about him though. So to say he wasn't famous, he was locally famous. I'd heard about this guy for years. And it was like this urban myth or something, you know. And then finally, I didn't realize it was him when I contacted him. But then after a few months, I realized, holy shit, that was the guy that I'd heard of. Oh my God. Anyway, but I met him and he gave me practices. And I went into it not knowing who he was, not knowing if these practices got results. I didn't know anything, right? And I started applying what I was talking about tonight, you know, so we have to connect the dots. If something works, acknowledge it, yeah? And then what happens is you build a faith in the method and also a faith in your teacher as well. Not in their, not like a blind faith, but in a faith that they're giving you instructions that are helping you. Yeah, you have to have faith, because if you sort of second guess or doubt, if you doubt that, then you're never going to get it, right? So you need to build this faith. It doesn't come out of thin air. You have to build it, right? So they give you an instruction. So for instance, right, you go home now with that instruction that we just went through tonight, yeah, and I feel pretty good tonight. Okay, connect the dots. How did I get here? Oh, okay, I did that. Breathed in here, hands on the tummy. Right, okay, cool. Do the same thing tomorrow. How do I feel today? Shit, I feel good today too. How did I get here? Connect the dots. And then over time, you build faith in the process. Yeah, and you build faith in yourself. Right? So what you do matters less. So for instance, if you're a meditation guy, you're going to do something very different to a Tai Chi guy. Yep. Or if you're a Qigong guy, you're going to do something very different to a Tai Chi guy, or whatever, you know what I mean? So depending on what your teacher teaches, you have to build this faith in your teacher, in the instruction.
So the specific field actually doesn't matter?
Not really. Not that no. I used to, yeah, as I said, you know, I come from a line of preachers, right? And so I was certainly I had my views, and it had to be Buddhist and it had to be Theravada. I was very dogmatic in the beginning, yeah? It had to be this way. Now, no, I have no such views. No such views. Yeah, I think you can do it through Christianity. I think you can do it through Islam. I think you can do it through Taoism, through Tai Chi, through meditation, if you have a good teacher. If your teacher is good and they have a method that works, and you'll be able to see if it works from the people around your teacher and your teacher and in yourself. Yeah. Yeah, because it's hard to ascertain with people, you know, like I walk into this room and like everyone's, you know, quite cool, but I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know. But, you know, then I do a few lessons with Toby and he gives me some instructions. Holy shit, this is changing my life. I'm not fighting with my wife as much. My kids are enjoying my presence now. They actually want to hang out with me. What? Okay, this is working. Job done. You know, and then I just continue. Yeah, it's very intriguing in this world of spirituality, how people are not content with their teachers. I get people all the time trying to get me to look or go and train with somebody else or whatever, you know, like, oh, have you heard about such and such? You should go and train with him. I have no need at all, because every single piece of, every technique or instruction that my teacher has given me something good, you know, so again, connecting the dots. I have no desire at all to look anywhere else. It's totally fine. So yeah, practices. Are you a meditation guy or?
I'm more physical.
More physical? If you're a physical sort of guy, train Tai Chi. Yeah, but then again, like, who are you training Tai Chi with? You know? It's tough. It's tough, man. It's tough. Like, I've been all over the world and met a whole bunch of people, and tough. It's tough to find someone who's actually releasing.
Well, for me, it's interesting that actually no matter what I'm doing, I find usually the same results.
Okay.
That's why I'm giving this question, because I don't know why it's happening.
Right. Right.
It's for me it's interesting because
Yeah.
if I meditate,
Yep.
it's a complementary to what I do. If I just want to relax, if I practice, if I train, if I fight, whatever, I always feel the same negative.
Yep.
So that's for me it's interesting that no matter what path you choose, you can still get to the same destination.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah, and again, the destination. Yeah, and so I don't know what you're seeing. So it's hard for me to say yes or I don't know. Yeah, but I think if it's making you a better person, then that's good. I think that's the tell. If you're becoming a better person day by day, and you're becoming less neurotic, I think that's good. Doesn't matter what you do. So you could be doing BJJ and rolling every day and finding a catharsis through that, finding how to release through that. Great. Beautiful. Yeah. It's good. Yeah. All right. Anyone else? You good? Yeah.
Available.
Ah.
When the vision is clear, you understand suffering, meaningful suffering
Yeah.
from this. I feel that when people don't have clear vision, don't practice, talking about suffering, bring them far away.
Oh yeah.
What is another expression, another word you think of that kind of when you want to teach to somebody or where you want to explain or understand
Yeah.
from? Because they ask and
Just I know. Yeah. So using big words like that, or words with a lot of power, will scare them away.
For people is normally the pain.
Yeah. So just talk about feeling shit. Use words that they're used to. How are you feeling right now? How do you feel right now? That's the best way. Just talk to them normally, I think, and get them to investigate. Water. Yeah. Okay. My voice is just gone. This is the most I've spoken for about a month. But even things like that, right? So my voice just went. And there was all this contraction around that. Yeah. That the contraction, like my voice box just dried out. And so it shut. And so I couldn't talk properly. Right? And so I think drawing people's attention to the fact that every time they feel uncomfortable or when something doesn't work in this mechanism here, this body and the mind, when something doesn't work properly, it's because of this. Yeah? In pretty much every case. If you think about it, like, let's say you go to a doctor, you have a sore throat, right? You go to a doctor for drugs, right? Or, it might be a natural doctor, right? And so the natural doctor might put needles in you. And so what are they trying to do? They're trying to clear. Yeah, they're trying to open up. That's what the drugs do from the Western doctor too. They take the infection away, And so that's on the physical, we're trying to get rid of swelling. We're trying to get rid of infections and all this sort of stuff. Make joints more lubricated because it's more comfortable. Yeah, and so then the same thing in the mind as well. So you go to a shrink or a psychiatrist or whatever, and they give you pills, and those pills make everything more spacious, not so tight, right? And so when you start to talk to people, and you have to experience it yourself, otherwise people can see bullshit. People can, if you're just regurgitating from a book, people can see that. Yeah, but if you're actually talking from experience, and there's like this passion or whatever, like that experience behind it, and you can relate to them, I think most people get it. But that's why I do dissolve therapy. Everyone should check out dissolvetherapy.com.
Right, are you available for those sessions? Or?
No, I'm too busy.
Too busy, right?
Yeah. No, we're doing about 6 hours a day at the moment, training. So it's pretty intense.
That's intense,
Yeah, it's intense. So yeah, I'm here with my teacher at the moment, so just training.
Awesome.
But you can certainly check out dissolvetherapy.com. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's really good. It works because it's experiential, and what you're doing in Dissolve, in the treatment, is you have to train yourself. To do the treatment, you have to be training yourself. You can't do a Dissolve therapy treatment, for instance, and try to use some other method or whatever. It doesn't work. You have to be releasing yourself to allow your friend to experience that, right? And so that's what it's about, and that's why it's so good, because you're doing the work, and they're doing the work. Your friend's doing the work too, and they're experiencing it now, and it's undeniable. It's very cool. So yeah, you should check that out. Very good tool. Yeah. All right. Good.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
For coming, Andy.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.